officially at the almost second round of the NBA playoffs mark. A few teams taking their time getting there, aka going to 7 games. But before we do that, we want to pop over to a different conversation to warm up here. And that would have to do with a lot of pop talk, in Pop We Trust. Maybe we'll call ourselves the Popcast this year or this episode. Listen, got to get my pop puns in, man.
Go ahead. You got any more? Just fire. Just get them all out of the way.
Hold on. Yeah, maybe spur of the moment. Full court pop press, pop fiction, straight out of Popovich. That was one ChatGPT gave me.
They were fading a little bit towards that. He started great.
Yeah, listen, it's okay. It started off good.
We were all trending up in spur of the moment, and it was like, but we're getting there.
Pop off the Drive Dish NBA podcast with Pop Talk. So, with all that, let's drop into the Gregg Popovich situation, which means coaching change for the Spurs.
Yeah, and I mean, Popovich is not out of the organization. And
right.
I mean, he's going to be still involved, which I think is good to hear. Like, he's stepping into a different role with the president of basketball operations. They've already got the interim, like you mentioned. Well, not interim, the new coach, Mitch Johnson, is going to be the new coach, who he's been the interim since Pop had that mild stroke all the way back in November. Of course, Pop is 76 years old at this point. And I mean, look, like, it just stinks because I think when the Spurs drafted Wemby, right, that we all had this preconceived notion of like, this is the second, like, or the final era of Pop's career, and that he's going to have this glorious finale with, this generational prospect. Because look, like, Pop is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Like, we have there's no qualms about what Gregg Popovich has meant to the game. Like 5 championships in San Antonio. Like, we can save all the legacy talk for, when it is the end for Pop, and hopefully that is no time soon.
And if I'm Pop, you want to stay at least somewhat tied to the organization from a standpoint of what the future looks like with Wemby and what they're working towards, like, you still want to be there to get at least some of that credit. At least that would be how my thinking would work. It's like, man, we're about to enter Tim Duncan era 2.0. Like, let's make sure I can get credit for at least some of this. I mean, you may have already said it, but man, been in the head coaching job since 1996.
Yeah. And I mean, look, he got to coach Wemby early on. Like, he's had a little bit of time with Wemby hands-on. I mean, Wemby had a very nice tweet, of course, paying tribute to what Pop has meant to San Antonio and the organization. And because, obviously we expect Wemby to be a stalwart there, maybe not to the level that Popovich is, but certainly for quite a little bit here. Yeah, it's unfortunate that obviously has gotten to this point because, you don't want to, it has been clearly all health related. Like, this was not Gregg Popovich's decision. Like, he very clearly wanted to be on the sidelines. Like,
and it always kind of felt like it, without sounding too bad, it always kind of felt like that's how it was going to go, if that makes sense. Like, he was one of those guys that you're like, this guy is always going to be around the NBA until health or something pulls him out. You know what I mean?
Right.
It Pop very much felt that way, instead of it's like, I'm going to get to this goal and then I'm going to step down. I always felt like Pop was going to be around or is going to be around until he quite literally physically can't. And that's, in a way, what's going down. So.
Yeah, you just hoped it would be, like we said, a little more on his terms. Like, this was, quite the rug pull. Popovich is the NBA's career wins leader, 3-time coach of the year. We mentioned the 5 titles, of course. You name every Spurs great other than George Gervin, basically. Shout out to the Iceman. But, like, he's had a hand in with David Robinson, with Tim Duncan, with Manu and Tim. Like, everybody else, all the role guys as well. There's numerous role guys that are worth mentioning. But I mean, for Mitch Johnson, he's been with the organization for a while. 31-45 in Pop's absence as the interim coach,
which is kind of funny because I was reading about that. Right, that record goes to Pop since he was the head coach. So when Johnson starts next season, he's going to be 0-0, but it will be his 78th game coaching. Like, that's kind of funny.
Well, and it's funny because it kind of comes at the precipice. Like this is an interesting offseason for the
Yeah,
Spurs, right? Because
very
it's
much
like
so.
you've got Wemby coming off the blood clots. So like he'll be hopefully back and healthy and ready to roll. You've got now confirmed rookie of the year Castle. Shout out to Stephon Castle winning the award officially. Not really much of a surprise there. I mean, Risa Shea got second in Atlanta. You know, it kind of
This
felt like he was the like, look, to put it bluntly, it wasn't that great of a rookie of the year race. Like, I think you and I talked about that a little bit
and
before, and I think that goes
yeah,
all the way back to the draft, right? But I think Castle played the most consistently throughout the season. Like, he
yeah.
came in and played an impact role for them right away.
It just
So I think
was.
that's a deserved award.
It was a very rookie. Yeah, it was a very low rookie of the year. Like it did not feel like anyone really cared this year. Whereas rookie of the year, there's a
Well,
lot of like, you know what I mean? Like,
our boy Jared McCain got
well,
hurt too. Like, if I want to
that's what
put
I
the homer
mean.
hat on, like, look, I don't have many things to brag about for the Sixers at this
Well,
point,
McCain
but
was
like Jared
good.
McCain was balling. Like, he looked like he had a real
Yeah.
shot at it.
Well, and you and I were talking about this, and anybody that can, if you can remember, there was somebody before our Sixers that was like he's probably just going to win rookie of the year, but also got in. I can't remember who it was. There was somebody there. It was someone, and I wish I could remember the name. But either way, after those injuries, after he went down, like I didn't think about rookie of the year until you literally were like, "Oh, we got to mention Castle won rookie of the year." I'm like, "Oh, right. Like we got those awards already. Like we're good." Back to Mitch, though, I thought this was also a kind of interesting stat. He played as a 4-year starter with Brooke Lopez, Robin Lopez, and Landry Fields. So, like, puts it in perspective. Like, he's pretty young. I mean, Lopez brothers are still doing their thing, you know. And I think is Landry is he?
No, Landry was the GM, and then he got fired in
That's
Atlanta. Like Landry
right.
was already in the front office role,
Yeah.
and then he unfortunately just lost his job a few weeks
Well,
ago.
it happens.
It,
But
it
it does happen. I mean, but that's to put it in perspective. I think the kind of coach you're cool leaning in on, right? Like Mitch Johnson being a younger guy with Wemby and De'Aaron Fox and kind of like what you referenced going into this offseason, which is going to be really important, is he's going to be able to grow into the role as well. Now, I think it's weird this offseason because you don't fully know, like you didn't have an on-court product between Fox and Wemby to fully grasp what was needed in this draft, this offseason, like what you need to go get from a stats perspective, I guess. So that'll be interesting to see what they do. But again, I think it'll be another season of very like lower expectations, to not make it sound bad, but lower expectations in the fact of we're going to see what Wemby, what De'Aaron Fox is, you know, and in Castle, obviously rookie of the year. Like let's see what these guys are and what we kind of need to put around them to make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, see, that's why it's intriguing though, because you're right, but at some point too, these expectations got to start to kick in. Like now that you have Wemby, and I think and making a De'Aaron Fox move the way they did with Sacramento, like I think that speeds it up a little bit. I think that was one of the unfortunate things about the Wemby injury is we never really got to see what that combo looked like. I'm sure the Spurs would have wanted to do a little bit of evaluating already, but I mean. Look, they've got a lot of draft capital. They own all their picks. They've got a few extras here in the next few years. Like, and with enough young players, like, I don't know, they're kind of intriguing. Like, you know, we're going to talk plenty of Bucks later in the episode, but it's like, look, I could see the Spurs getting in on the Giannis conversation. Like, could you imagine putting Giannis and Wemby together? Like, you could push this core in a little bit and try to go. Now, you know, that's the beauty of it, right? Is you have flexibility. I don't think there's any need to do that. But I will say, like, the Spurs need, I would imagine next year you want to see this score like start to win some games here a little bit. Adding De'Aaron Fox speeds that up, but it's like, you know, the first 2 years Wemby is so young, like you can understand them not really being too worried about not even making the play in. And it is the Western Conference. Like we know what it is. It's always a gauntlet. At some point you want to see them start to put it together and take the leap. So, but it's interesting. Like they are one of the teams to really watch this offseason. You're right. Like I think there are a lot of different options there. And I think it'll be interesting to see if they maybe push some of those chips in a little earlier than we would expect.
Yeah, and I think they may. I think they may, but I also think you got to take into account that you do need to give a little bit of, I mean, I'm not saying Mitch is new at it. Like we said, he's going to be coaching his 78th game by the time the season starts. But you do want them to all be able to grow together. And I think there might be a worry of like if you if you up the timeline too fast, you might overjump your abilities in a way, if that makes sense. Like if you make the expectations win now, and maybe Mitch Johnson isn't at that point of his coaching career in the, like a Gregg Popovich in a way, like you don't want to do that either, I guess, is kind of the problem.
Yeah, no, I mean, I get that too. Like, you're right. But I'm going to trust them to have evaluated Mitch
Of
a little
course.
bit just because he has so much familiarity with the organization. But you're right. Like, there is
And
something
Pop's
about,
there,
like, it is a radically different job if they suddenly go all in. And it's like,
right.
hey, I'm not saying they would have to really, like, make a big swing to suddenly have championship expectations next season. But, like,
But
yeah,
imagine if, how like, and we've talked about it or even joked about it, but, and alludes to a little bit of conversation down the line, and you kind of already alluded to it, but like if KD is available, if Giannis is available,
KD will be available. KD will 100% be available. Giannis, I think is again, we'll talk about later on. I think Giannis is going to be very available as well.
so like that would be interesting. But I would say in the Spurs situation, like if you get, again, this is like take all the optics out of it for just baseline conversation. If there was a way you could land both of those guys, but in doing so, you obviously had to lose Wemby, lose De'Aaron Fox, and whatever kind of comes around them. Like that's not a Mitch Johnson team at that point. Like that's not. I don't think fits his situation. I think right now it fits his situation.
Yeah, I agree. I think in most, there are exceptions. I think,
Agreed.
namely, the recent one is Ty Lue in Cleveland.
Agreed.
Like they threw Ty Lue right into the fire and he won the
Agreed.
title.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think the large majority of coaches aren't like that and don't do well in that. The Spurs just like they have a lot of, like you said, with Atlanta, pay off still from the DeJounte Murray trade. Like they have their first round pick this year with no exceptions. Like that's going to be a lower lottery pick, but like that's still going to be right around like that the mid-teens range most likely, and that's with their own pick as well. Like you've got the right to swap with Atlanta in 26, or you have their pick in 27. Like they have a few extra picks that I think they can do, plus all their own, obviously. Like that's the more important thing. So, they've got some creativity here. There are still some young players on the roster, a few players that have been, a little more experienced, for example, like thinking like the Keldon Johnsons of the world. And we'll see. Like they're one of the intriguing teams to watch this offseason. But obviously, more importantly though, we hope Pop stays healthy. That's quite a big change, and it'll be disappointing not to see him on the sideline. Like you would hope that we've seen so many farewell tributes. Like I think of Kobe's last season, and I think of Dwayne Wade's farewell tour. Like from a player perspective, but like even coaching wise, you hope to see a lot of those greats kind of go out like that and have that version of it. It's unfortunate we won't get that with Pop. That's a shame. I think college basketball, like we saw it with Coach K recently. Like you would have hoped to get something like that, but
Agreed.
But at least he's still in the organization some capacity. It's not like just totally over. That's good news. Welcome everybody to the Driving Dish NBA podcast. My name is Kevin Rafuse. Joining me as always, my co-host Justin Cousart.
29 years. Coach, thank you for your wisdom, your leadership, for the culture you've created, but most importantly, being a great, inspiring person. It was an honor to be a part of those 29 years. Wishing you the best on your new chapter.
Yeah, see, I'm cheating because this is the tweet I referenced earlier. So, like, yeah, shout out to our boy Wemby. Very classy message as always.
Sure, but let me just put a little asterisk out here for a second.
Here we go. Here we go. How are you going to hate this message somehow?
I don't know why it comes off at. And I really am not hating. Just when I read it, the first thing I thought was, bro, you only been there for a year.
Oh, yeah, right there it is there. He was a part of the legacy.
I know, but 29 years, referencing 29 years, bro, you were there for the last year. And so, like, again, I'm not being, I guess I am being a hater, but I don't mean it to come off as fully hating. I'm just like, first thought was like, dude, you were only there for a year of it. Like Nick Batum's tweet, legend of the game. Thank you, Pop. That probably would have sufficed for a tweet too. I don't know why referencing the years just makes me think like, I don't know. I was like, oh, you weren't there for all of them though. Like chill.
At least he was a part of it,
I know, but that's like, I don't know. That's like, What's a good, I'm trying to think of a good comparison here. That would be like, okay, this is what that feels like to me. That is like me last week getting hired by the Orlando Magic and putting out a post being like, man, it was exciting to be a part of this this season's run and making it to the playoffs. Like,
did you do work in the last week? Like, whatever. Hey,
did you do work during the last year? And we absolutely got our ass kicked by the Celtics. Like,
I didn't get there. Whoa, man, you are the Magicator for sure. They went down respectfully. They went down with a fight.
And they did go down with a fight. It was fine. But like, you know what I mean? Like that's how
I get it. He caught the very tail end of it, but at least he got a full year. It wasn't like the weeks thing. If it was like
that tweet is a Tim Duncan tweet. Like that should be a Tim Duncan tweet.
I think Spurs would love for Wemby to turn into Tim Duncan 2.0.
But that's what I'm saying is like that whole tweet. If you change Victor Wembanyama,
Tim is so far off social media right now. Tim is somewhere in like the Virgin Islands or like just vibing, like having a great time. Like Tim is doing whatever Tim feels like.
He does have a Twitter. Let's see if he's tweeted anything. No, maybe not.
Like Tim grew the hair out. Like my man is having a great time in retirement.
This claims to be the official Twitter page of Tim Duncan, which makes me think it's not.
I'm checking if he's got Insta real quick. I'm looking at my phone.
If this is him, he hasn't tweeted since April 2013.
I mean, yeah,
pretty fitting.
I don't think he is. Yeah, no, he definitely doesn't have Instagram.
No, I don't know if this is him. I feel like this is like a fan page, but even so, it's only got 596 followers. So
well, that's what I mean. The top Instagram when you search Tim Duncan has 3,100 followers. Like, yeah, I don't think it's Tim Duncan.
I don't think it is either.
I mean, there's a Tim Duncan GOAT page, but like,
yeah, no, I don't think he has one. You might be right. He doesn't have social media.
Yeah, I mean, look, it would be very on brand, but you know, shout out to the big fundamental.
I'm seeing if Ginobili is tweeted. Now I'm curious if the big three is posted anything.
Oh, I feel like they all are definitely tweeting and stuff still. Tony Parker and Ginobili and stuff.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean,
this is going to be he did tweet April 29th about Steph.
I mean, this just happened. I mean, let me see. I'm on Tony Parker's page right now. Tony Parker posted a tribute. He reposted the Spurs video of Pop and a bunch of highlights. He posted a video of Pop and them all working out from NBA on ESPN. And the Spurs posted a pic of them all with the trophy and stuff.
Ginobili hasn't tweeted about it yet. His last tweet is for the Rookie of the Year stuff. But I find it funny that his tweet is Rookie of the Year saying, congrats, Steph. And then the next one's from April 8th that says spring in the hill country. And it's just a picture of flowers.
Hey, listen, man, he's retired now. Those flowers are boring.
Yeah. Good for him.
Trying to smell the flowers too in retirement.
All right.
Leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad. We'll read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Player FM, anywhere you can find a podcast, you can find us.
And you can find us on YouTube, Driving Dish NBA. We got a video version of the podcast up there. If you want to watch along, just search Driving Dish NBA, and you will get the notifications when you subscribe when we put out new videos.
Now, a word from our sponsors.
So like we referenced at the beginning of the episode, we are pretty much at round 2 of the NBA playoffs with an asterisk. We're just waiting for the results of Rockets, Warriors, and Nuggets, Clippers. So we'll start there, but as a just to catch us up on everything, the Cavs whooped up on them on the Heat, swept that thing right into the second round. Pacers 4-1 move in, and that will be the next conference semifinals game. Pacers, Cavs, Knicks won against the Pistons. It took them a little bit longer though. They are now going to go up against Boston, who did beat Orlando. Lakers, I think, would be the only one that maybe people would see as a surprise in terms of standings. They lost to the Timberwolves. Timberwolves waiting for the result of Rockets, Warriors, and then OKC, who swept Memphis, is sitting around patiently waiting for the results of Nuggets, Clippers. So I guess let's start with the two undecided ones before we go over, since at least from whenever somebody is listening to this podcast, those results will probably be in.
Yeah, we're recording Saturday morning, so we'll have Denver Clippers is tonight. We'll have game 1 of the Cavs and Pacers is tomorrow for second round, and then you've got Rockets and Warriors game 7, of course. Yeah, we'll start with Denver and we'll start with the Clippers, which I mean, because it's funny, right? Like these two, very different how we got here. Game 7's like the Clippers and Nuggets have just been throwing haymakers at each other this entire series. Like this has been every ounce of the heavyweight fight we thought it would be. The Rockets and Warriors may be a little more surprising just because, the Warriors up 3-1. It felt like they had really taken control of that series, especially to me in the game where, game 3, Jimmy Butler's not playing. And, this is something Nick and I talked about last episode, and shout out to our guy, Nick Renowitz, again for coming on. Welcome back, bud. You needed a major Steph flurry. You needed a Steph Curry takeover game, and you got that, and you won. And so at that point, when they win game 4, you got to feel pretty good. But man, give Houston a lot of credit. I think one thing you and I have been talking about is it's like Houston has not been here before. They are a more inexperienced core. They have guys who have been, and one of them, namely Fred VanVleet, the last 2 games has really his experience has shined big time. Yes. I mean, when they've needed a big time bucket, they've gone to him.
And I think Adams has really kind of also shown through a little bit as well. And we'll talk about him a little bit more because even Draymond's kind of talked about it, referencing the fact that refs need to call 3-second violations because that's what Draymond does. But also being like, this man is just more massive than me. Like he's got 30, 40 pounds and 6 inches. He's a bigger dude.
Well, their bigs in general have done really well in this series. Şengün has been consistently excellent this entire series. The Warriors just flat out don't have an answer for him. But like I said, give them a lot of credit to be in the whole 3-1 to, bounce back because game 6 is in Golden State. You got a very hostile crowd. You've earned a game 7 on your floor. Really excited for both of these games. Well, like I said, we'll start with Denver and we'll start with the Clippers. Game 6 in LA, the Clippers defend their home floor. The wall has been going crazy. The big development, I think, late in this series, I guess for me at least, has been Jamal Murray's health. Jamal Murray in the game 5 win, having 40 points, first time he's done that since 2023. The Nuggets we talked about have such a good record when Jamal Murray gets over 20 points. If he's giving you the 30, 40 points and giving you healthy Jamal Murray the way that he just hasn't this year, and I think a lot of that's been just dealing with the aftermath of all of these injuries. We know how brilliant Jamal Murray has been at points. That does shift the Nuggets ceiling to me for a little bit, where it's all my depth concerns. If they've got a bona fide number 2 in Murray, the way that they've had at points when they won the title, of course, namely, that does shake things up here a little bit. Obviously the standout moment for the Nugs from so far this series as well is the Aaron Gordon putback dunk, first game winning dunk in NBA history. And he's been massive this series as well. For the Clippers, it's just been their, consistent, it's the depth, right? It was their main guys in game 6 that really stepped up for them, right? Kawhi had 27 points, Harden had 28 and 8, the really solid playoff game out of him. We know what the rep is. And that was a non-stinker from Harden when they needed it. Norm Powell had 24 points. So it was a little more top heavy than it's, traditionally been. The big story for the Clippers too, to me, has been Zubac. Zubac is just playing phenomenal defense. Really doing a great job on Jokic. There's no stopping Nikola Jokic, but there's limiting him. And you look at that game 6 win, 25, 8, and 7 for Jokic. Those are kind of pedestrian numbers by his standards. And so I think, there's something there that you got to keep an eye on.
Well, but, and to that a little bit, I just lost my train of thought of what I was going to say now. It might have had to do a little bit with the Aaron Gordon thing is I think that, no, it's Jokic. There we go. I got it back. We found it. It took me a second. I had to go to the depths of my brain to find it again. To the Jokic thing, though, and I think Shaq kind of alluded to it a little bit. It was talking about, I can't remember if it was a halftime show or post-game show where he was kind of it's time for Jokic to leave his mark on the game. And it kind of took me by surprise. I'm like, what do you mean? The dude's put like last game, 25 points. He shot 50% from three, 50% field goal. Like he is leaving his mark, but I think we need almost to what you were alluding to from like the James Harden game where we get 28 out of him and 8 assists and just kind of like or a Kawhi Leonard in a way where you get the 10 rebounds, 27 points. Like, I don't know, something that's like insanely flashy from a Jokic standpoint. So I kind of understood what Shaq meant, but I also think it's more of a cast right now. Like Gordon and Murray, as you referenced, and even the support that you get from Westbrook when he's out there as well is like, to me, is if Aaron Gordon can be putting up 20 plus points a game and Westbrook's putting up 15, and like you said, you're getting 25 to 30 from Murray, like you probably don't need a 30-pointer from Jokic, you just need it to be working.
Well, and you kind of got that already, right? In game 4. Yeah. I mean, he put up 36, 21, and 16 in game 4 in a game they won by 2 points. Like the depth wasn't depthing there in that one. I mean, you got 17 out of Porter, but like that's really about it. Like, you're right. I agree in the sense that the depth showed up big time in game 5. Like they needed, I mean, namely Murray. Again, that goes back to Murray with 43 points on a night where Jokic was down. I mean, he had 12 assists, but you're right. He only had 13 points that night, but you got 23 out of Aaron Gordon. You got 21 out of Russell Westbrook. Like you got, and you still want more out of Michael Porter. At least you got 14 there. I mean, that was kind of the story to me too in game 6 is like Michael Porter had 5 points in the game. Like that's not what you need out of what you're paying him. Like he just needs to be better straight up. Russ was good. He had 14, efficient 5 of 10 from the field. He had 10 boards as well. I mean, you're right. Like Jokic can't have a 13-point game, but I think even in this loss, like he had 25 and 8, like and I give the Clippers a lot of credit because, like I mentioned, that Murray stat with 20 points, like he had 21. It's not like Jamal Murray had really a bad game in game 6. It to me was just, like I said, the Clippers' top guys took over. Like they have the potential to do that as well. And look, they have guys who, that's where in game 7, you have to feel like you got a shot if you're LA because you have guys who can go, besides their top guys who can give you those heaters off the bench and win you a single-handed game, right? Like I've seen it we saw it with Nick Batum last year in the play-in against Miami. Like Bogdanovich in the past with Atlanta has had those games in the playoffs. Like, I always skew the home teams at home in game 7. Like that's just kind of the way it traditionally has gone numbers wise.
Yeah.
I don't know though. Like this is the definition of a toss-up game to me here. Every time it feels like either of these teams have been ready to take control of the series. It was like, like Denver wins that, crazy game 1, executes down the clutch, but then the Clippers come back. Game 2 win where Kawhi takes over, dominant in game 3, and that's where you're like, hey, it looks like they're gonna, I feel good about the Clippers team. I picked the Clippers in the upset in this series. Like you felt like they had turned the switch in game 3, but then Denver wins a gutsy game 4, come out and win big in game 5. And it's like, hey, Denver's championship experience is showing like, look, maybe they're ready to throw the knockout punch. But then again, the Clippers, defend their home floor, get it done. This is a great series, man. This is delivered. This is definitely the best series of the first round so far, in my opinion. I'm sad that one of these teams is going to be eliminated, and I'm kind of a little bummed that one of these teams is playing OKC in the next round.
Most likely both will be eliminated by the end of the next round. I mean, before we get to that next round, I did want to bring up that when Aaron Gordon scores over 22 points, the Denver Nuggets have a 66.7 win percentage. So
I believe that checks.
That's something to kind of keep an eye on in terms of his abilities. But we do transition a little bit then to looking forward to OKC. Who do you think has the best chance to give OKC the hardest time? Since it feels like you and I kind of agree, OKC's probably going to win it regardless.
I do. I'm leaning towards, weirdly, and it's funny because I think the Clippers are probably, in my opinion, a better team, but I think Denver may be a better matchup for like numbers wise against the Thunder. Like I don't know, like the Thunder have personnel to defend Jokic. Like they've got Hartenstein, they've got obviously Chet Holmgren is going to be doing a lot of that as well. But Zubac has just been such an excellent defender this year, and he just really is like that just massive human being who can kind of take on a lot of those minutes. Like I don't, as great as the Thunder have been defensively, like I do worry about that matchup a little more. Where I think, namely with the Clippers, it's the guard play you have to worry about, right? Like those are your top guys. They just have been so phenomenal at defending the perimeter all season long, and they have so many different guys that they can switch on you that I just feel like matchup perspective, like they can swing it there. Obviously, full disclosure, I think the Thunder are going to win this series regardless of who it is. I think the Thunder are also going to take advantage of the fact too that, like, look, they're resting. Like you're right. Like maybe that game one they have because they haven't played in a little bit, but they came out, they handled their business against the Grizz and got it done with the sweep. Like they had that massive comeback in game 3, albeit with the Morant injury, but still, like, I'm not about to just jump off the OKC cliff here. Maybe they get surprised a little bit, but I think the way too with the Thunder or with the Nuggets, excuse me, and the Clippers beating up on each other the way they have, with this being a 7-game series, a slugfest, that probably does lean OKC a little bit as well. My initial read on this is, regardless of whether it's Nugs or Clippers, is OKC in 6.
You think? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think OKC's going to handle their business again. I lean Nuggets as well in terms of one that I just feel like would give OKC a harder time, just leaning off Jokic and him being easily one of the best players in the NBA. But again, the Clippers have been sneaky all year, and so if we are getting the Kawhi and the Harden that we need out of that situation, they could also be sneaky. I just think, I don't know, I'm going to put my trust in Jokic at that point. So then we take it to the next, the 3-6. The Lakers lose to Ant, who has been very vocal on social media. I did a victory lap around the stadium afterwards. I don't know if you saw that video going around.
I did. Listen, man, Ant-Man, Spider-Man, Batman, Lakers in 5. Like, listen, Ant is, if nothing else, Ant's going to talk, and you can't really be mad at him in this case.
I guess in my case, just to take the series as a whole, and we can drill down from there, is I am surprised the Lakers only got 1 game.
Yeah. Me too.
That's the part that surprised me the most.
Yeah. And I mean, in hindsight, my worry with this, because, like, look, I was just wrong here. I picked the Lakers as well.
Same.
My surprise, because I thought the Lakers were serviceable defensively down the stretch. It was a weird kind of scheme they were running, but I thought that, they would kind of make it work without necessarily having that traditional big. And they had kind of, in game 2, they were able to do that a little bit. But I mean, look, in terms of this series, you just got to give Minnesota's front line a lot of credit. Like, and just like look at Gobert, obviously phenomenal with 27 points in the elimination game, but he did a great job the whole series. Like, I thought Naz Reid was great the whole series. I thought Julius Randle, a guy who's been, kind of disappointing at points in the playoffs in his career, I thought he had a phenomenal series. And, like, I mean, especially from beyond the arc too. Well, he was like well over 60% from beyond the arc in this series. Like, that's not been something he's done in the past. So yeah, I mean, look, give Minnesota a lot of credit here. Like, they went into the playoffs hot. They, beat a lot of competition that they should have been beating. But, I think from a matchup perspective, well, they really took advantage of this. Like, Ant was Ant. He did what he needed to do. I thought Jaden McDaniels had an excellent series, from start to finish. And now they're in a situation where, they get to rest a little bit. I'm sure they're loving that Houston is pushing Golden State right now, give them some time off to recover. I'm interested to see how this, fares against either one of these teams. Cause I mean, I think both Houston and the Warriors have the personnel defensively to match up a little better with Minnesota than the Lakers did. But, give Minnesota credit. Like, I think they, probably took advantage of a matchup that I think we probably all overthought collectively, in the sense that, like, the Lakers just don't really have a big, and Minnesota's got a lot of 3 or 4 quality bigs, and they really took advantage of that. And so give them credit.
Yeah, I completely agree. And if you look at the shot charts, like, the Lakers were pretty much negative in field goal percentage versus the league everywhere on the court, and especially in the paint. And you look at the Timberwolves, who at least on the basic stats of it were a little bit below league average everywhere except for corner 3 and the paint. So like that shows where like you were alluding to, the bigs kind of showed up. They were able to bully around a little bit. The Lakers weren't able to overcome that size issue, I guess you can call it. But what's interesting too is on the stats side of things, it doesn't fully show. I mean, yes, the Timberwolves out rebounded the Lakers by a few, but not a ton. It's not like crazy amount of rebounding, but even LeBron kind of referenced it in the post game press conference, which obviously raised some eyebrows a little bit.
Are you buying that? I'm not buying that for a second.
Apparently, he unfollowed him.
Oh, you unfollow the Lakers?
Mm-hmm.
I don't buy that he's retiring. I think maybe there's a chance he goes to somewhere else, which would be interesting only because, like, I don't know. I thought that the Luka trade just bought the Lakers and LeBron like maybe another 2 to 3 years. It's like, are you really gonna talk about leaving like after you just got gifted Luka Doncic? Like, I feel like you're gonna see what the Lakers do this offseason in terms of like how competitive are you gonna be. But yeah, I think if they're not keeping up for some reason, like, do I think he's gonna like look around and say, hey, KD, what's going on? Or hey, Giannis, what's going on? Or hey, Steph, what's going on in Golden State?
Dude.
Like, there is a part where it's like, I do think he may want to chase 5 or 6. Like, it's LeBron. He has nothing left to prove at this point, but like that is kind of the only way I'd see him leaving LA is if he's going chase somewhere. I just also think that you have a pretty good situation with Luka Doncic now in LA and just chasing there potentially.
The one that really raised my eyebrow, at least in comments, was AD said what he needed and was traded a week later. That was the one that I was like, ooh.
Well, it is because it is awkward, right? Like,
yeah,
AD and LeBron, I truly don't think this is and I know everyone wants to be like, well, LeBron knows everything, but I don't think he knew about the Luka thing. Like, I really do. And I think he and Anthony Davis had a great relationship. Like, they won a title together. LeBron actively recruited AD all the time. Like, and AD wasn't wrong necessarily at the time. Like, AD said, yeah, I'd rather play with a more traditional center.
Yeah.
And like, whatever. Obviously, I don't think that was the wrong decision shipping him out. Like, you got Luka Doncic. You're going to be all right.
Well,
Luka
I'm not
going to lie, though. Yeah. Luka had 1 or 2 defensive possessions in that series, especially in the elimination game. It was alarming a little bit. Like, I am not going to go off the cliff here and be like a conspiracy theorist and be like, Nico was right all of a sudden or something. But like, Luka got to move the puppies a little bit. Like, they had a possession where they were in zone and the Lakers played great zone defense and the Wolves swung it to McDaniels and McDaniels just blew by Luka. Like, that's the only reason the zone broke is because McDaniels just turned the corner on him. Like, you don't need to be Luka Doncic is never going to be an all NBA like Tony Allen level of defender, but he's got to be average at least. Like, that was a little.
And I almost, for whatever reason, I have that less egregious than the Giannis one, where Hali just burned by Giannis in that last game. And it was like, what was that?
We'll talk Bucks a little bit.
What was that?
No, I got no Giannis slander. Honestly, Giannis is going to be. Giannis is. If anything, I was so impressed by what Giannis did this season. I think he's individually at the peak of his game. And that's why I'm very curious to see where he ends up.
So then as a for a Timberwolves standpoint, you're watching Rockets Warriors. That one's tonight. You said that one's tonight, right?
No, that one's tomorrow. It's on Sunday. Okay. Yeah.
So you're watching this game on Sunday and you're going, dang, I would rather face blank, because I feel like there's a good argument for each. Rockets were quite literally, the second best team in the West record wise this year. And the other team has Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler.
Right.
And we know what Jimmy Butler's history with the Timberwolves is. So like, you know what I mean? Like, he's going to have that extra step potentially. Dude, I have a tough time justifying which one I would prefer to see. I weirdly think it might be the Warriors, which feels weird to say with Steph and Jimmy being there.
Yeah, and that's why I don't think it's the Warriors. I still think it's Houston. Like, there's not a good answer here. Like, I don't think they should be.
The problem is Steven Adams, from what we've seen the last few games, like, makes me be like, they're not going to give up the paint sort of like the Lakers did.
No, for sure. But I'm also like, yeah, but then I mean, and look, you have to love the matchup too with when you've got Thompson. You can put
Yeah.
Thompson on Ant and just try to
Yeah.
hopefully harass him the entire game. I don't think there's a strong lean either way for Minnesota. Houston has a ton of depth. They have a lot of different guys they can beat you with. They can roll 9 deep. They have, they've been able to withstand some lackluster performances from some of their bigger guys, like namely Jalen Green at points has been real up and down with scoring in these playoffs. You're right. Like, I don't think that, I also think Minnesota has the personnel to guard Houston a little better than the Warriors have. Like, I think, yeah, like we mentioned Gobert and Randall and Reed, and like you have a lot of bodies to throw at Şengün and Adams. Like, I think you can also work that in your favor as well. Yeah, I mean, if you take, kind of that same advantage, if you play Golden State, like I think you can definitely beat them on the interior a little bit more. Like, obviously you're going to have to deal with Dre, you're going to have to deal with a few other guys, but like I said, they employ Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler. Like,
right,
that does matter.
But that to me right there almost feels like you can take similar game plan that you did against the Lakers and use it against the Warriors as well. And it might work better than potentially against the Rockets.
Yes, but I do think the Warriors are better defensively than the Lakers are.
That's fair.
I think both these teams are better defensively than the Lakers are. I don't know. My initial read, I don't know. I'd picked Golden State in the upset in the series against Houston. So I'm not going to jump off that cliff now. I'm going to stay there even with Houston winning games 5 and game 6. I'm going to trust Steph to break Houston's heart one more time.
Okay.
But I think either way, and again, I feel crazy disrespecting Minnesota 2 series in a row, especially after, they went to the conference finals last year. I love Ant-Man. I kind of feel like, if they win again, he deserves to curse me out, man. I earned it.
Yeah.
I think I'm going with the winner. I think whoever wins this series, I think it will beat Minnesota though. And my read is 7. Is I think it does go the distance. Again, I think that's a long, close series. If Houston gets out of this series with Golden State coming back from 3-1, I'm wiping out. I will firmly never talk about their inexperience again, because that's a big boy series win if they come back and pull this off.
After seeing these games, I disagree with you a little bit on the result of what the two could potentially be from the Timberwolves. I think, weirdly enough, if the Rockets win and go up against the Timberwolves, the Rockets will be going to the conference finals.
Mm-hmm.
If the Warriors win and go up against the Timberwolves will be going to the conference finals. That's the vibe I feel out of it. It's hard to explain. I think it has to do with the paint stats a little bit. I trust the bigs of the Rockets from what I've seen a little bit to stop that. And I don't necessarily trust the Warriors to be able to stop that with Ant's attack, all around after that. So like, that's the vibe I'm getting out of it. That's where I think. So I think if you're the Timberwolves, weirdly enough, you want to be facing Steph. I know that sounds weird, but I feel that's the vibe I've been getting out of this series.
I mean, look, like if you're Minnesota, you just took LeBron and Luka out. Like, I think you feel pretty, and I think you look at that duo and say, it's a pretty talented duo. We're not afraid of Steph and Jimmy either. Though I do think the Warriors are better.
You go, yeah, well, I agree, but you look at, you're like, yeah, we just took down the third ranked Lakers. Now we're going up against the Warriors, man. They barely skipped past being in the play-in tournament. Like, I think you can kind of also justify that a little bit in your head, where the Rockets, like, dude, we're the second best team in the West.
Warriors also post Jimmy trade were right up there as well, and I think that's where you go defend. If you're the Warriors, you say, hey, these are 2 entirely different seasons 100%. From when we had Jimmy Butler and didn't employ Jimmy Butler. Either way, though, like I said, for Houston, if Houston gets by, I'm not discounting their experience the rest of the way. Like, that's as good as it gets if they pull out themselves out of this 3-1 hole.
I think they're going to be, and that not only that 3-1 hole, plus it was against Steph. Like, that's a huge confidence boost.
Yeah, game 6 win on their floor. Like, and like we said, we'll see. Game 7's in Houston. Like, they, they love home teams love a game 7 traditionally, as I stated before. So we'll see what happens there. You listen to the Driving Dish NBA podcast. Kevin Rafuse, Justin Cousart. Again, you can find the show wherever. Just search Driving Dish NBA podcast. Watch the show on YouTube. Hit subscribe. So the Eastern Conference is set for the second round. Little more, so we could truly preview these series in a little more detail. So of course you've got the Cavs playing the Pacers. That tips off first on Sunday. And then you've got Celtics and Knicks. I'm going to start with Cavs and Pacers. I mean, not just because the Cavs are the 1 seed, but just like, I think this is going to be a way more competitive series. I'm really actually intrigued in this series, but I'm not going to lie. Like, the Pacers, again, conference finals last year, I think they handled their business against the Bucks. I thought they were a better team than the Bucks. I think really in the second half they've played well. I say all that to say, God damn, the Cavs came out and like, I know this Heat team is like, has been much worse than it's been in the past. Like, but they are still coached by Eric Spoelstra, and the Cavs did just beat them. They blew the doors off the Heat. Like, this was never close at any point during this series. And yeah, I'm just like, man, there's a part of me is like, yo, I want to give the Pacers are much better than this Miami team. And so that's why I don't want to discount here. Like, there truly is a major, like, the Cavs will be tested here a little bit, but I think 3 weeks ago, you could have maybe, like, if you gave me 10 times running this series, you could have talked me in the Pacers winning like 2 or 3 of them. Now I'm kind of like, I don't know. Cavs are kind of handling business here. My final pick is Cleveland in 6, but we'll, in the meantime, though, I do expect this to be a very competitive series. What's your initial read on this one?
Kind of the same thing. Like, the Cavs really, they either heard everyone being like, yeah, the Cavs were the best team all season, but like still the Cavs, so let's see what happens. So I think they came out and they're like, look at this machine that we have put together.
Yeah.
and yeah, I've seen it said on a few different articles, like, can the Pacers clog the machine a little bit? I don't know. I don't trust it. Although the Cavs were very impressive against the Bucks. Obviously, injuries and things like that against the Bucks game also kind of changed some of those results, and we can talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, man, I mean, Hali and Siakam and Turner, like, I love it, but I don't know, between Donovan Mitchell, Mobley, Garland, Jared Allen, like, I don't know, man. I'm done betting against Cleveland at this point, and I'm kind of with you. I think they're still going to be riding that we need to prove it to everybody we deserve to be here train. And if that's the case, they might blow the doors off them again.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough from a regular season perspective to really take anything away because just they played 4 times, but 2 of them were in the last week of the season, and so it's just like nobody was really playing their guys like that. You're not trying to give them
anything potentially, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, so they split their other 2 matchups. I mean, yeah, I'm interested to see, defensively, Indy is, of course, with Nemby is going to be, I think, probably take the majority of guarding Donovan Mitchell. Like, that's going to be a big time matchup to watch. Donovan has been phenomenal, obviously, in the first round. I don't know. Like, how do you think that? I'm interested to see what they do against Halliburton, because obviously, like, with Indy, so much of it is slowing them down, right?
He got called the most overrated player in the league.
No, of course. That's why, like, there's a little motivation there. Don't worry.
Yeah. Again, it is interesting. Like, I'm surprised. Put it this way. Looking at the series leaders in terms of stats, like, you would think, okay, that person's going to be, over 20 some points per game and whatever. And Donovan's the series leader, right? For the Cavs, 23.8 points per game. Hallie's the leader for Indy, and it's at 17.6.
Yeah. I mean, it's
so
way more balanced.
That feels weird. Yeah, it's balanced team attack, which is fine. But that does feel low for, like, the guy that's your star. Even like Siakam is the one that's, like, scoring over the 20 points, but, like, still,
Hallie's also in double-digit assists every game.
Right.
I do think that you're right. Like,
I think 20 at one point. Yeah.
Well, and you're right, and that's the knock against Hali, right? Because I think offensively, you're right. From a scoring perspective, there is at points a lot that to be desired, and
There's
that would be
just
the next level of
there's
Halliburton, where it's like,
just
can you be a consistent scorer? He's
well, and
elite
there's
though at getting his teammates involved.
I agree. There's just a level of, and I guess the word is expectation when you are the star of the team, that you're the
Yeah,
one putting up 25 a game, and potentially doing double doubles and whatnot. But like, and Hali is, but it's
and they're
just a
winning.
lower scoring one. And yeah, and they're winning. So
It
like
is.
you
They're
can't
winning
hate
though.
on it, but that's where I think the potential overrated combo comes into play a little bit, where they talk about that potentially
I
in the
get that.
anonymous poll.
Well, there's also the fact that he was on the Olympic team too and didn't play any minutes. I think that probably feeds into that narrative a little bit as well.
You see his
But like,
dad get
look,
into Giannis?
yeah, that was crazy. Yeah, Halliburton's dad. And the Pacers aren't bringing him to games again. Like, Halliburton's dad's got to knock it
You
off.
got to
Like,
chill out.
And
Yeah, you
Halliburton,
can't
I
be
thought, had
doing
a great comment after the game where he was like, we're going to have a conversation. Like, I got to talk to Giannis. Like, that was crazy. He's got to know better. Like, that's a little wild when your son has to be the one telling his dad, like, yo, dad, knock it off. Like, that's crazy. Hallie's dad looked crazy for that.
Better your son asking you to stop do that than your son sneak a phone number out and then prank call a draft.
Oh my God, dude, that was crazy. Like,
Could you imagine costing your dad $100,000?
I'd be buried in a cemetery somewhere if I cost my dad $100,000. I mean, there's also a joke about college in there somewhere, but
Right,
like,
right.
yeah,
But
no,
like,
if I
damn.
prank called somebody, Shadur Sanders, yeah, I would be working that off for the rest of my life.
I can't imagine the level of grounded
He wouldn't see daylight.
Right.
He wouldn't see daylight.
Dude,
Like,
it would be done. $100,000 is crazy.
It is. And like, look, kids do dumb stuff. Like, I'm not saying like this was some
Also,
like,
don't film it, bro. Like, what are you doing?
That's my thing too, is I'm like, yo, you incriminated yourself. Like, you literally filmed yourself doing the crime. Are you taking notes on a criminal conspiracy? Like, what are you doing?
Right. Like, I get it. They wanted to do it for the social, but like,
of course they do. But that's where kids are, like, the internet kids grow up on. It's like, hey, you do it for the social. Now you got real world consequences. Like, great.
Yeah, man, you gotta. There's Nicole and I are watching a documentary about social media, and it gets dark, but it's essentially these kid groups on YouTube accounts. Like, they had their own account, but they would all live together, and then they would use each other on their accounts to like inner promote, and it all went to one pool of money. And I mean, these kids are like 10 to 14 years old.
Right.
And the lady kind of running the things. It gets, it goes where it goes. But yeah, you'll have to watch that. I'll find you the name of that documentary. Nicole was watching it last night. And I was like, oh my God, this is so disturbing.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, like I said, I'm glad that, we grew up kind of as that was starting to come into play, but there was a little more of a balance, as we, we were a little older when smartphones came out.
I think, dude, I'm telling you, I think COVID really pushed it even way more over the
big time
level. Like,
dude, the gap in the noticeable, this is a whole different podcast. There's a noticeable shift in the trends and the views and between the like pre-COVID Gen Z and the post-COVID Gen Z. And let me tell you something, it gets dark with the post-COVID Gen Z and it ain't trending well. And that's a greater, like, we got to kind of fix that as a society, because there's a lot, like, there are a lot of people flooding the zone on the internet with content that's not great.
And I, take the politics aside, Florida is trying to ban social media for people under 14.
Yeah, which I don't hate, honestly.
Yeah. So, and there's like a how are you going to enforce it question, all that stuff. But
right.
But I at least can kind of get behind the idea and the attempt as to why they're trying to do it. So I'll at least give them credit on that end. But either way, let's get back to basketball.
What do you think? So here's my matchup and my thing with Hali, going back to the pace thing, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland are gonna necessarily they're gonna have moments of defending Hali. I don't think either of them can keep up with his pace, no pun intended, long term. So my question is, do you put a bigger defender on him in the sense of, like, do you move DeAndre Hunter over, or do you, he hasn't been playing as much this playoff run, so granted 4 games, but Isaac Okoro's kind of been out of the rotation a little bit. Like, do you bring him back in, who I think he's had some success there at points, or do you just say, hey, Evan Mobley, Mr. Defensive Player of the Year, and Jared Allen, hold it down, basically. Like, can you trust them to clog the paint enough to kind of, ruin Hallie's drives and wall him off a little bit?
I mean, maybe, or do you want them to focus on Siakam a little bit?
I
don't,
mean,
you know what I mean?
but I think yes, but I think I want to wall Hallie's drives off more than I want to like worry about shutting Siakam down necessarily.
That's fair. I mean, I guess the counter argument almost goes back to the comment that I made earlier, was from that specific play where Hali was able to blow past Giannis, like absolutely cooked him in that specific play. And I only reference that play because even ESPN was talking about this, is like that play showed that the Pacers have so much confidence. They didn't set a screen. They didn't try to do any diversion. It was just Hali up against Giannis, and Hali cooked him to the board.
Yeah.
And like, so do you think who on the Cavs is a big like that's going to be faster than Giannis? I don't know, We have to look at it. I don't know.
I mean, Mobley, yeah. I'm going to trust him to make those adjustments as well. And like, I'm not going to read like, I don't think Giannis had a bad defensive series just because he got burnt on one possession. Like, I think Hali does that to everybody.
But that's my point, is like Giannis is one of these guys that is known as like a good defender, and Hali was able to handle his own on him easy. And so like, that's where I wonder, what the attempt is, or do you go, okay, Hallie's the star, but he's not going to light it up crazy. Like in that game that we were just talking about, that last game against the Bucks, he had 26, but he shot 2 for 10 from 3. Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, maybe it is more of a, like, let's, Turner dropped 21 and Siakam had 10, Nembhard had 15. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, if you could shut one of them down, even in this game, Siakam was kind of shut down. Maybe it is to focus a little bit more on Turner and only let Turner score so much, and you kind of keep Hali at bay from the assist side of things. And so Hallie's going to drop 26, but you got Turner down to whatever, and Siakam's at 10. Like, I don't know. That seems like a potentially easier option. Than one guy having to hold on to Hali. Yeah, exactly.
No, you're right. No, you're right though. I think that's the key to me. If you can stop Halliburton's playmaking and make other guys beat you on the Pacers, I'll live with that every single time.
Yeah. Let him score, let him shoot, but if you can get him or if you can lower his ability to pass to Turner, to pass to Siakam, he was at 9 assists in this game. So you get that, you keep him at like 7 to 6 assists. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's the key to the game a little bit.
I was reading the Indy Stars article and their preview of the series, right? Which, like, is good because I want to, read somebody who, like, who's going to take this with the most, like, Pacers rosy light. Yeah. And so they gave the Cavs the advantage in everything except coaching. And I was like, wait a minute, hang on. I'm like, that's the one you're going to argue? I was like, look, Rick Carlisle's a legend and he won that championship with Dallas. But, like, I also watched Rick Carlisle have an absolute stinker in the conference finals last year. I watched Kenny Atkinson come in here and turn this team into a juggernaut. Like, I don't know. I was just surprised it wasn't like, hey, maybe we'll try with depth, or maybe we'll try with like offense or something like that. But I got Cavs in 6. This is gonna be an entertaining series though. Like, the Cavs they're gonna get tested here. This isn't gonna be like Miami, where Miami just like rolls over.
I think this one, God, and I almost want to like freaking sleep on the Cavs again.
Oh, you want to go the distance? You want to take it the distance?
I almost wanted to say the distance just because I want it to be entertaining like that. I'll say it goes the distance and freaking sleep on the Cavs yet again and be proven wrong when they freaking sweep the freaking Pacers off the floor. What I mean? Could you imagine? Holy moly.
If they sweep the Pacers,
that'd be crazy.
We got to start talking spicy. Like, they sweep the Pacers, I'm like, whoa. Like, hang on.
Like, hold up.
Like, did we like...
It is hard to take anything away. It's hard to take stuff away from the Miami game only because it was absolute blowout. So you take out the fact that, man, they torched them. But like
that matters. They torched them.
I know, but like and leaning forward to it, if we have enough time at this point, we'll talk doom teams, and I think the Heat are on my list. And so like you also have to take that into account. So
I think we'll get to it because let's jump to the next series. We'll get into doom teams a little bit here. For the Knicks and the Celtics, I mean, look, I got to be honest, and maybe this is like where I think we'll spend less time on this because I'm gonna just fire the hot take cannon early. I think Boston is gonna mop the Knicks. I think they're winning this series in 5 games. I don't think it's gonna be particularly close. Like I think that Detroit series, and Detroit was good all year, and I think Detroit plays teams tough. That set off so many red flags for the Knicks for me. And I just like, I don't. I think their late game offense is a mess. I think it's been all over the place. I think they haven't been able to integrate Towns necessarily. I think, particularly in games, and like, look, it worked in that game 6. Like, Jalen Brunson hit an extremely cold buzzer beater. He was absolutely clutch for them down the stretch. He also missed like 3 or 4 3-pointers going into that heater where it was just the offense was give the ball to Jalen Brunson and have him take a shot. Like, that is not going to work against Boston. Like, it's just not. When they have 7 or 8 guys that can beat you, you know, they're not getting Bridges involved at the end of games. They're not getting OG involved at the end of games. Like, it's just give the ball to Jalen and go. And I think that works against a lot of teams, but that is not going to work against Boston. Like, simple. It's not going to work against Boston. Jalen Brunson is a brilliant player. He absolutely deserves all the clutch time awards he got. All that stuff is great. There's no planet where I've seen the gear that makes me think, even going back to the regular season when Boston dominated all these matchups, like, I don't think the Knicks have ever come close to beating the Celtics team. So why do I think they're suddenly going to beat them in a 7-game series?
This will be the team's 16th playoff meeting. Celtics won the season series this year 4-0, and they won those games by an average of 16.3 points. I think that tells you a lot.
Yeah, like, I don't want to shortchange the preview for this series, but I'm going to shortchange the preview for this series. This isn't going to be close to me. Like, I think, again, it's in the Celtics. It's somebody every night. It could be Porzingis one night. It could be Peyton Pritchard off the bench one night. It could be Derek White one night. Like, they've been able to link
They've
up.
Got
like,
too many options.
Call me in the conference finals when they got to play Cleveland. Like, that's when we'll wake up and say, hey, all right, what was Boston going to really do this year? I'm expecting this is quick to me. Like, there's Detroit could very well have won that series when you look at like what happened with the non-call on Tim Hardaway Jr. And they, you know, again, Detroit will be sick about that meltdown in game 6. Like, they were in control of that game, but I don't know.
They were also the ones that wanted it to be like a bang bang game and all this stuff. So I had trouble getting upset with them after you missed one call. Like, you guys have been, that's what you wanted. That was how you were going to win, is be roughhouse a little bit. And like,
but it was blatant.
Oh, I know it was blatant. Believe me, I know it was blatant, but it's like, come on, like that was the key to the game is getting physical like that. So so what you're saying is,
I hope you got to hope Drew Holiday is like, hamstring isn't healthy. That's like your best shot is like maybe Drew Holiday's hamstring isn't healthy.
What I'm learning is, so the Knicks will lose to the Celtics. So then KD will go to the Knicks, Giannis will go to the Pistons, and we'll be right back in this next year.
I would not be mad at either of those scenarios, honestly.
Or vice versa. I mean, I think it's going to be one of those things. I don't think offseason wise, I don't think anybody's going to move. Surprisingly, I don't think KD moves until people find out where Giannis is going. Like, I think Giannis is going to hold this thing up.
Yeah. I mean, certainly
until he comes out and says, I'm staying with the Bucks. Nobody what? I'm going to catch myself because I was about to say, why would you go for KD when you could have Giannis? But yeah, and again, we can talk boom teams in a second if we have time for it because we're getting close. But I'm with you. I think the Celtics are going to beat the Knicks. I'll give the Knicks a game, maybe 2, but yeah, I think the Pistons game was really telling on rotations and the Celtics. Though I'll cave and say, man, they had some tough games with Orlando. That 4-1, dang. I'm just such an Orlando hater because I have to be.
I don't
know
why. Orlando played fine. They didn't even have Jalen Suggs.
They did fine. And the Celtics handled their own. And so
Orlando might get Giannis too.
That would be awesome. Actually,
Franz Wagner and picks.
I'd be dope for
Giannis Apollo. I'm just saying.
That'd be fun. But I mean,
all right.
Yeah.
So let's we're going to executive produce on the fly here real quick. Let's skip who's balling, who's falling, because I think there are 2 main things that were going to come out of that segment. Number 1, shout out to Dyson Daniels for winning Most Improved Player of the Year for Atlanta. Great defensively for them all year. That was the biggest upgrade, but career highs in points, rebounds, and assists. He beat Zubac and he beat Cade Cunningham Look, well deserved. I think Dyson Daniels, and especially when you look at most improved player, it's like guys who like really kind of came from not nowhere, but they're more fringe guys that have now made themselves a bona fide key part of a team. Dyson Daniels is phenomenal for Atlanta this year and looks to be going forward. The big story and what was going to be your fallen is, of course, the Dame injury. With Dame, unfortunately, with the Achilles injury now, given where it was early in game 4 of the Bucks Pacers first round series, he's now going to probably miss all of next year. And, like you said, kind of, again, we're probably a full calendar year away from him playing NBA basketball again at this point. A guy who has a player option. So there's 2 more years left on his deal. He's going to lose one of them, but then he'll have the player option. He's of course going to pick that up. He'd be insane not to, but yeah, Dame's going to be 36 years old when he comes back from this injury. So, that kind of ties well into our doom meter here real quick, which we're going to hit on this episode. And so the doom meter is we're going to talk about the teams that are eliminated. And so that's Miami, that's Milwaukee, Detroit, Orlando, the Lakers, and the Grizzlies. Obviously, there will be 2 more, but that's who we got confirmed at this point. And the levels of just concern and gloom you should have afterwards with that elimination.
So we'll obviously start with the Bucks.
The Bucks are number 1. It's not even close.
And I think the reason we start with the Bucks is this: they don't have their first round this year.
Correct.
Their second round they'll receive the second best of Washington's 3 second-round picks. Their own second-round picks was traded to Cleveland in 2020. 2026, the New Orleans. I'm all over the place. New Orleans has the right to swap first-round picks for a more favorable position. This is a part of the Drew Holiday trade in 2020. They also have a second-round top 55 protected from Utah. 27, none. This was owed to New Orleans again as a part of the 2020 trade. Second round, none. This is owed to Philly for the 24 trade for Patrick Beverley. 28, first round. Portland has the right to swap first round as a part of the 23 trade for Dame. The Bucks added a second swap for Washington. This was with Chris Middleton that just happened this year. For this pick to convey, though, Portland and Washington will have to be better than Milwaukee in the 27-28 season. Second round in that year, they don't have. 2029, none. First round. They originally owed it to Portland as a part of the 23 trade for Dame. Second round in 2029, none. Owed to Brooklyn as a part of the 23 trade for Crowder. Now we are 5 years down the line. First round pick. Portland has the right to swap the first round for a better position as a part of the Dame Lillard trade. Second round in 2020 and 2030, none. Owed to Orlando as a part of the 23 draft day trade for Andre Jackson Jr. We can stop there. They finally own a first round pick in 2031.
Yeah, and somehow it gets worse than that. Like, you would think that would be like, oh, it can't possibly be worse.
No,
than
it does.
No, it does. And I mean, the Dame injury made it so much bleaker because, right, like your cap space next year, you're paying $54 million to Giannis and Dame. So you already don't have a lot of cap space to work with. Dame is not even going to play this year. So, like, first off, you just got bounced in the first round in 5 games. You're nowhere near a title with one of the best players in the league. And after taking a big
who's
swing
at his
on
peak,
Dame,
or who is in his peak area of playing basketball right now.
He's 30 years old, like playing great. Then you look at the roster, like you said, there's no picks, so there's no younger means to get better. Brooke Lopez is a free agent next year. Gary Trent Jr., who is maybe the only positive success for you in this playoff run with some absolute heaters, is a free agent next year. You know, you've got player options for Bobby Portis and Pat Connaughton, so sure, okay. And then you're paying Kyle Kuzma $22 million next year, who both, by the way, absolutely stunk since coming over from Washington. He stunk since being in Washington. You traded a franchise legend in Chris Middleton to get Kuzma to help take you over the top, and he gave you absolutely nothing valuable. Yeah, their stuck. And it's not even like we already thought they were probably going to have to trade Giannis just because of like there's no path to win here. It's like, reset, recoup here a little bit. Now it's gone from like, oh, we think this has happened to like it's downright intelligent to trade Giannis Antetokounmpo, which is insane to say about one of the best players in the league. But that is the only chance you have at resetting this thing anytime remotely is reset. Like Giannis is going to get you everything on earth. Like the guy is fully in his prime. If Nikola Jokic didn't exist, he would be the best player in the NBA, in my opinion. Every team on earth should be trading for him. Like you've got plenty of teams, like we said, we mentioned them all, but between Orlando and San Antonio and Houston, and even if OKC, which that sounds so insane, but like OKC could throw themselves into the mix. Like there are many, many different teams. You mentioned Detroit a little bit earlier. Like you could see them doing that. Like
Houston, depending on how the season goes. I mean,
yeah, man. Like that's the way to reset. Obviously it stinks. You never want to trade a guy of Giannis's caliber, and you hate that it's gone this way and that you're in this position. I think the fallback is that at least Milwaukee won a title. Like this at least was not for nothing. Like that does matter a lot.
And I don't know I don't know if it was just saying it to say it, but like obviously Giannis has been very vocal about how he likes being there. So that is something to hold on to. But the problem is now you're at a point where, cool, you can want to be here, but we also need to be winning. And yes, we will have a winning, quote unquote, record, by the end of the season with you on our teams, but that's not going to relay to playoff wins as we just saw. So
yeah. And that's the alarming part is there's no path to contending here right now.
Yeah.
There just isn't. And when you have one of the best players in the league, it's tough. There's not really like
it is worth mentioning him and Lillard were the highest scoring duo this season. They averaged 58.4 points per game. And really did turn their whole season around in a way. Like it was very bleak at the beginning of the season for the Bucks, if you remember. And so that's a big part of it too. But
yeah, they're turning the season around, got them bounced by Indy in 5 games in the first round. Like that's kind of my point is it's like what, they're by far number one to me on the Doom meter. I don't even think anybody else is close.
No,
I mean,
I'll put the Lakers on there from the standpoint of it seems like LeBron's upset. At the end of the day, even if he is, you still have Luka, so you're fine. But like, I would want to get a pulse check on whatever that is. I saw some blogs joking that LeBron doesn't follow the Lakers anymore. I guess I could check that now, but like
I'll check it now. I got you.
That would actually be
in-depth
genuinely
research.
That would be genuinely interesting if that's actually the case. And those AD comments were a hint at maybe a little more frustration. But that also could have been the Lakers preparing for, hey, we're sensing some frustration. I love LeBron. If we can't do this and we might lose him, let's go get Luka.
LeBron still does follow the Lakers.
Okay,
so
fine.
no quite worries there. No, I mean, I think the Lakers, you got Luka and you knew this team wasn't ready to compete, I think realistically. So like I had them a solid like 4 on the despair meter. Like it's a drastic gap between Milwaukee. I mean, the next two to me that are not Milwaukee, but I think that you're looking at are Memphis and Miami. Mostly because like Memphis, you just haven't been what you hoped you would be a few years ago after making these initial playoff runs. And I think you have a very valid question of, do you trade Ja Morant? Like, what does this team look like going forward? Because this core of Desmond Bane and Jackson and Morant hasn't really they haven't gone as far as you've expected. Like obviously a lot of turmoil down the end of the stretch. And then with a pretty unceremonious playoff exit, you got some injury issues with Morant that are starting to pile up. So like, I think that's one to keep an eye on. Miami, I think is just bleak too. Cause like, look, you already traded Jimmy. You knew you weren't going anywhere, but it's like, I look around this team and it's like, even with Bam and Tyler Hero, and Hero was much better this season, but I just still don't think this team is going anywhere. Like,
I think they need to make some pretty drastic changes this offseason.
Yeah, it's time to reset. Like, I think Bam and Hero have a lot of value. Like, get something for them while you can, and you kind of got to trust your development and figure it out. Like, I think it's season in the tank may not do them the worst thing in the world. Like, they just don't have that high-end talent anymore, or not enough to get over the top. Like, and it doesn't seem like they're the free agency destination right now, because I think given what people see with this core. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think they're there as well. I mean, everybody else.
Or conspiracy theory hat. Okay. Okay. What if the start of next season, we're sitting here talking about Miami has a big three and LeBron, KD, and Giannis.
That's insane. I don't even know they could. Like, that's my.
I don't know how you make that happen, but dang, that'd be wild.
Yeah.
Either way, so.
And so I mean, beyond that, I don't think really like Orlando, Detroit.
Nah, I feel fine about them.
Yeah, we'll see how this Nuggets and Clippers play out, but like I don't think you're off the. I mean, it's disappointing, but I don't think it's end of the world necessarily.
I think it's more disappointing for the Nuggets than it is the Clippers if they lose.
I agree with that, though. I think the Clippers core is getting a little older, but you're right. I think the expectations were higher. Houston, there's no disappointment at all if they lose. I mean, you fought your way back to Game 7.
There may be a level of despair Warriors side if they lose.
Yeah, I think the Warriors, there definitely is more because of Steph and Jimmy's age. I think these opportunities only come around a little bit.
Yeah.
So I think there's that. Yeah, Detroit, I think you're sick the way it ended just because, like you said, you were in all of these games. You feel like you got hosed a little bit in one game.
To me, man, I see it as the Pistons just showed we're ready for you, a.k.a. KD or a.k.a. Giannis. Like, we're ready. Come here. Yeah. We're ready to go over the top with it.
Yeah.
I'm playing with
Cade broke out.
Let's make
That's
it happen.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Young guys broke. And obviously, given the improvement, like what this was last year, like being one of the worst teams of all time, and then being able to turn this around. I mean, like you said, when you had a lead in Game 6, I think you wanted to force it to Game 7, and just because the pressure would have been on the Knicks, it wouldn't have been on the Pistons at all. And so I think there's a tiny bit of disappointment the way that ended, but I think that's the only reason there. Orlando's, I think it's only disappointing because you started so well.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like you feel pretty good about Paulo and you feel pretty good about Franz. Like there's a lot of optionality there. That core is still young. Like there's no planet where I'm super despaired if I'm Orlando. You fought with Boston.
Yeah. You have to know what it was going up against Boston too. Yeah.
But there's no and again, second round, we'll see how some of these play out. And maybe there's some, higher levels of gloom, but yeah, I mean, there's Milwaukee to me, then there's Memphis and Miami who are still much below Milwaukee, but like definitely have a little more doom. And then there's kind of everybody else. Like I think there's lower levels of disappointment for sure.
I agree.
Thank you everybody for listening to this episode of the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. Appreciate you guys as always. Leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad. We'll read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Player FM, anywhere you find a podcast, you can find us.
And we're on YouTube, Drive and Dish NBA. You can watch a video version of the podcast, subscribe like you would for the podcast, and you'll get notifications when new episodes are coming out.